Dr. Hassan?
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hello.
can
You
you
may
hear
now
me?
start. Okay, you may now start.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Professor Australia. I would like to express my gratitude at first to the organizer of this webinar and providing me opportunity to present in this international webinar on English for journalism. It's a great privilege and honor for me, and I would like to express my gratitude formally to the University of the Saint Anthony Regional English Language Office of US Embassy in the Philippines, massive open online courses, and online professional English network. And I also like to thank President of USANT, Attorney Santiago de Ortega Jr., especially personally. And also, I want to say hi to Dr. Jose B. Ballesteros, Dr. Romualdo, Dr. Lubna, hi, Mr. Eric, and MS Chris and other participants. Thank you very much again for inviting me. And my topic is Infodemic in the time of pandemic. Uh, Welcome to my presentation. Can I see the slides? So,
Yes, sir. It's being shared already.
okay, takes time. Okay.
There you go. Can you see now the presentation, sir?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can see
Thank
the
you.
first slide. Okay. Thank you. So can you move to second slide?
Proceed to second slide. Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. So today's topic is very interesting to me also. For preparing this topic, I had to explore research papers, newspaper articles, and other theoretical books. And so as you can see in the slide, it's a BBC news from yesterday. And it doesn't matter how smart you are, you can be victimized by infodemic. Yesterday, when I was reading in the BBC News that the person, you can see the picture, Brian and his wife, Erin, it claims online that coronavirus was fabricated and it is linked to 5G or similar to the flu. The couple didn't follow health guidance or seek help when they fell ill in early May. And Brian recovered, but his 46-year-old wife became critically ill and died this month from heart problems linked to the virus. This is just one of the many stories that is how infodemic in corona pandemic affected our life. Uh, it could be as dangerous as pandemic. And rumors about emerging diseases can and do have real world consequence with so much information out there in social media, both accurate and difficult to find trustworthy sources of information. The World Health Organization say it is impossible to predict which direction this epidemic will take. We are concerned about the level of rumors and misinformation that are hampering the response. The WHO further says false information about prevention measures or so-called cure are potentially harmful for public health. That is what we have seen in the case of Brian and Erin. Can you move to the next slide? Slide number 4. Yeah, you can see a picture here. One person is drinking cow urine. So the question is, can cow urine cure coronavirus? And there are also other examples like these. In Russia, There is a misinformation in internet on social media that Russian President Vladimir Putin did release 500 lions in Moscow to pursue the city's residents to stay indoors as part of the effort to fight the pandemic. Can you move to the next slide? So you can see the picture of the lion. Yeah. So you can see that Russian President, it's a fake news actually. The Russian President Vladimir Putin released 500 lions in Moscow to pursue the city's residents to stay indoors as part of the effort to fight pandemic. Actually, this image comes from an incident in 2016 in which a large lion was spotted roaming the street in Johannesburg, South Africa. So that's how the disease informer, the people who create disinformation, manipulate the picture or topic or content. There is also a misinformation on coronavirus. It's like to the poor people, especially in Bangladesh. I experienced it by myself that poor people, they don't wear mask or they don't wash their hands, and they think it's a rich man's disease. Poor people are out of danger of coronavirus. And some people say everything will be all right in summer because the virus cannot survive temperature of about 25 degrees Celsius. And to some people, there is no existence of coronavirus. It's a hoax. That's what I showed in the case of Brian and Irene. And some people, they take lemon every morning and bicarbonate every morning to protect them from the virus. And there is also fake news. I think it's not a fake news because I heard some doctor also suggested this, that can you hold your breath over 10 seconds? So if you can hold over 10 seconds, that means your lunch is all right. And and there are other examples too, like take few drops of arsenic every morning in empty stomach. The smoke and gas from the fireworks prevent corona. Put on sesame, the new coronavirus for entering body. And some people say it's not safe to receive letter or package from China, and pack at home spread the new coronavirus. So these are some examples of misinformation, disinformation we receive and also circulated in the web and internet around the world. Though some or indeed all of these statements might sound ridiculous, they are actually genuine example of the sort of mythical facts that have circulated right across the globe in recent months in relation to ongoing coronavirus crisis. As well as the struggle against the physical disease, it also seems we are battling with an impaired ability to tell fact from fiction. We are fed an onslaught of statements, figures, and speculations now aptly described as infodemic. Therefore, information comes from many sources and many ways from numerous sources with many shapes. Social media allows misinformation spread faster than ever before, and sometimes fake information comes from traditional sources with political motives. For instance, Russian TV station has spread the conspiracy theory that coronavirus is a bioweapon intent to weaken China's economy. And internet trolls and conspiracy theory has said that UN Health Agency undermined the global response. The media users receive information or misinformation from sources and filter it through personal belief, experience, and construct reality, share with others to influence. For many, especially in rural areas, whatever circulated in the Facebook is trustworthy to them. For them, internet means Facebook, and for them, Facebook is trusted source. It has been agreed that COVID-19 infodemic diffused faster than the pandemic itself. This infodemic has been fueled by the ease with which information diffuses on social media. News organizations and social media platforms are helping counter the spreading misinformation. Facebook and Instagram got its army of fact checkers working well. Twitter and Google are directing its users who search for coronavirus information to credible institutions such as government health websites. Even with these efforts, COVID-19 cases are still on the rise. So the concept of infodemic is nothing new, even as far back as Middle Age and the uh, and the devastation of the Black Death. There is evidence for a parallel situation of misinformation and fake news. But of course, today, just as the spread of the virus is intensified by modern travel, the spread of deceitful facts and ensuing confusion is amplified via the web and social media, with falsehood whizzing across the world and breakneck speed. So, the word infodemic, the concept of infodemic is very old, but the word infodemic was coined in 2003 in a Washington Post column by David Ruthhoff. When he was asked about what he mean by infodemic, he goes on to clarify what he means by the word. What exactly do I mean? He said, what exactly do I mean by infodemic? A few facts mixed with fear, speculation, and rumor, amplified and relayed swiftly worldwide by modern information technologies have affected national and international economics, politics, and even security in ways that are utterly disproportionate with the root realities. The World Health Organization coined the term infodemic to describe the excessive amount of information that spreads misinformation, disinformation, and rumors during a health emergency. The WHO stated the COVID-19 outbreak and response has been accompanied by massive infodemic and overabundance of information, some accurate and some not. That makes it hard for people to find trustworthy sources and reliable guidance when they need it. And infodemic actually refers to a large increase in the volume of information associated with a specific topic and whose growth can occur exponentially in a short period of time due to a specific incident such as the current pandemic. In this situation, misinformation, rumors appear on the scene along with manipulation of information with doubtful intent. In the information age, this phenomena is amplified through social network, spreading further and faster like virus. So the infodemic and information disorder is very much related, and information disorder means it's a combination of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Actually, we live in an age of information disorder, and the promise of the digital age encouraged us to believe that only positive changes would come when we lived in hyper-connected communities, able to access any information we need with a click or a swipe. But this idealist vision has been swiftly replaced by recognition that our information ecosystem is now dangerously polluted and is dividing rather than connecting us. The concept of information disorder is also nothing new. Mobilizing and manipulating information was a feature of history long before modern journalism established standards which define news as a genre based on particular rules of integrity. An early record dates back to ancient Rome when Antony met Cleopatra and his political enemy Octavian launched a smear campaign against him with short, sharp slogan written upon coins in the style of archaic tweets. He became the first Roman emperor, and fake news had allowed Octavian to hack the Republican system once and for all. But the 21st century has seen the weaponization of information on an unprecedented scale. Powerful new technology makes the manipulation and fabrication of content simple, and social network dramatically amplify falsehood peddled by state, populist, politicians, and dishonest corporate entities. As they are shared by uncritical publics, the platform have become fertile ground for computational propaganda, trolling, fake news, and so on. If we want to think about solution to this problem, we need to to this type of information polluting in our social media streams and stopping them from flowing into traditional media outputs. We need to start thinking about the problem much more carefully. We also need to think about the people who are creating this type of content and what is motivating them to do this. What type of content as they are producing, and how are they being received by audience, and when those same audience member decided to reshare those posts, what motivating them to do that? There are many aspects of this issue, and many of the debates are not grasping this complexity. Let's check the theoretical aspects and structure of information disorder. As I said, it's a combination of disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. So disinformation is content that is intentionally false and designed to cause harm. It is motivated by three distinct factors, actually: to make money, to have political influence, either foreign or domestic, or to cause trouble for the sake of it. And when disinformation is shared, it often turns into misinformation. Misinformation also describes false content, but the person sharing doesn't realize that it is false or misleading. Often a piece of this information is picked by someone who doesn't realize it's false and share it with their network, believing that they are actually helping others. The sharing of misinformation is driven by socio-psychological factors. In online, people perform their identities. They want to feel connected to their tribe, whether that means a member of same political party, parents that do not vaccinate their children, activists who concerned about climate change or a specific social issue, or those who belong to certain religion, race, or ethnic group. And the third category we use is malinformation. The term describes genuine information that is shared with intent to cause harm. An example of this is when Russian agents hacked into emails from Democratic National Committee and the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016 and leaked certain details to the public to damage their reputation. So malinformation is used to break the privacy of someone and to damage the reputation of somebody. So despite this distinction above, the consequence on information, environment, and society may be similar. That is, corrupting the integrity of democratic process, reducing vaccination rate, and so on. Can you go to slide number 14? Okay, thank you. So if we categorize the disease, information disorder, recent research categorized it in 7 categories. That is satire. One is satire or parody, misleading content, imposter content, fabricated content, false connection, false context, and manipulated content. The satire and parody is like including satire in a typology about disinformation and misinformation is perhaps surprising. Satire and parody could be considered as a form of art. However, in a world where people increasingly receive information via their social feeds, there has been confusion when it is not understood. The site is satirical. An example is from the, I think it's a classical example of satire and parody disinformation, under disinformation category. It's like there is a satirical site. Its name is the Khabaristan Times. It's from Pakistan, I think, and the site that were part of the news site Pakistan Today, and yeah, it's actually a, as far as I know, it's actually a satire and parody site, but sometimes people think that it's a genuine newspaper or something like this. And the second category is false connection. When headlines, visuals, or caption do not support the content, that is an example of false connection. The most common example of this type content is clickbait headlines. With the increased competition for audience attention, editors increasingly have to write headlines to attract clicks, even if when people read the article, they feel that they have been deceived. But the click is already made and it's counted. And the third category is misleading content. This type of content is when there is a misleading use of information to frame issues or individual in a certain ways by cropping a photos or choosing a specific course or statistics selectively. This is called framing theories, under framing theory. And the fourth category is false context. One of the reasons the term fake news is so unhelpful is because genuine content is often seen being recirculated out of its original context. For an example, there is an image from Vietnam captured in 2007 and recirculated 7 years later. It was shared under the excuse that it was photographed from Nepal in aftermath of earthquake in 2015. And in Bangladesh, a few months ago, when COVID-19 started, there was a picture of Chinese president. I think he visited a mosque in 2015 or 14, and it was circulated in the internet that in fear of COVID virus, the Chinese president went to the mosque to pray to God and ask for forgiveness. So false context is like that. And the fifth category is imposter content. There are real issues with journalists having their bylines and alongside articles they did not write, organization logos, and most of the time they use organization logo used in videos or images that they didn't create. For example, ahead of Kenyan elections in 2017, BBC Africa found out that someone had created a video with Photoshop BBC logo and strapline, and it was circulating on WhatsApp. They therefore had to make, so BBC Africa, they had to make a video that they shared on social media, warning people not to be fooled by that fabricated video. And the category number 6 is manipulated content. Manipulated content is when genuine content is manipulated to deceive. An example could be, a few years ago, a South African journalist, her name is Real Hafizi, and her picture was, Photoshop and make her, the photo was sitting on a lap of a businessman, John Rupert, inputting a personal relationship with him. So this is an example of manipulated content. And number 7, this category is fabricated content. This type of content can be text format such as completely fabricated news site. There are some fake news sites, and one of the news site is WTOE5 News, the self-proclaimed fantasy news site which published an article suggesting that Pope had endorsed Donald Trump for president. And this is a classical example actually, because that case was studied and later researchers researcher understand how the phases of information disorder. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah, you can see here that the phases of information disorder based on the case of Pope endorsed presidential candidate Trump. It is one of the most famous, classic, and useful case study for thinking about the different phases of information disorder. And if you can see that, like creation, article, there are four phase actually: creation, production, distribution, and reproduction. Creation is article conceived by an unidentified person, and its production phase is article published on the site WTOE5 News, and it's a fake news site and part of network of 43 fabricated news sites which published over 750 articles. And the next phase is distribution, articles shared on Facebook by someone working on the network of fabricated site. Then reproduction, articles shared by people connected to the fabricated news site network to amplify the impact of the article to make more profit. Articles shared on Facebook by Trump supporters. Articles shared by forces who had an interest in Trump winning. And then article also shared by Hillary Clinton supporters as evidence of how Trump supporters could be fooled. So this is a classic example of the phases of information disorder. So we asked why this infodemic? What causes this infodemic? Actually, it's a new phenomena, COVID-19 and infodemic. So there are very less research on that. So I studied a research paper based on that. I found that human communication and more importantly, the lifestyle of individuals are very important elements in the spread of the virus and completion or interruption of the transmission cycle of the virus. The same is true and can be applied in the case of COVID-19 virus. In the first several days of the COVID-19 outbreak in China, please move to the next slide. In China in 2020, educational activities were started exclusively by Chinese healthcare system. However, unlike previous epidemics, a combination of biomedical, social media, communication, economic, and even political factor caused the journalistic, media, and security dimension of this epidemic to even overcome its biomedical aspects. Accordingly, the unrecognizability of the new virus to the medical community, the rapid rate of its transmission, and the unknown behavior of new virus have resulted in a worldwide wave of media activities around this pandemic. In addition, the outbreak of the virus in Wuhan and China, which is located in the opposite pole of the United States, has also strengthened the media and security aspects of the epidemic. The coronavirus pandemic continues to reveal the economic dimension of the epidemic, and the extent of virus's impact on the global, regional, national, and local economies is much broader and deeper than initial prediction. Consequently, the combination of these factors and many other social, psychological, and even ideological variables and widespread spread access to of the world community to the media, especially its electronics and digital types, has produced a huge amount of data and information, including those correctly and incorrectly published and republished. Accordingly, more than millions of messages, clips, and educational content related to COVID-19 are published on communication network every day, even still today. So the dissemination of information related to COVID-19 is based on its two dimensions. One is organized and another is non-organized dimension, dissemination of information disorder. So non-organized dissemination of information disorder is actually it's in the level of individual, and it's like irresponsible and uninformed people about COVID-19 who feel that they have to share their information with others simply because human issues. Then they share the information on the internet, and people who say could be considered due to psychological reason try to republish or even produce educational content, and this information is generally incorrect. And organized dissemination of information disorder is done by it's very structured. It's like it's usually done by any organization. For example, selling industrial alcohol instead of ethanol in Iran prevent to disease resulted in 796 deaths from February 20 to April 25, 2020. And another example could be of this promotion, a special type of food supplementary by celebrities in cyberspace. Another type of organized dissemination of information is the spreading of symbolic information for ideological purposes. And it is often argued that this infodemic causes information overload. So information overload, next slide please. So information overload is the difficulty in understanding an issue and effectively making decision when one has too much information about that issue. And information overload occurs when the amount of input to a system exceeds its processing capacity. Decision makers have fairly limited cognitive processing capacity. Consequently, when information overload occurs, it is likely that a reduction in decision quality will occur. And too much information on social media can quickly cross users' cognitive limits in processing news and can make them feel overwhelmed and overloaded. So why can the infodemic make the pandemic worse? Because of the information overload. The simple answer is because of the information overload. It's hard for people, because it's hard for people, decision makers and health workers to find trustworthy sources and reliable guidance when they need it. Sources may be apps, scientific organization websites, blogs, influencers, and more. And people may feel anxiety, depression, overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet important demands. It can affect decision-making process mainly, and predominantly it can affect decision-making process when immediate answers are expected and not enough time is allocated to deeply analyze the evidence. And there's when there is information overload, no quality control on what's published and sometimes on what's used to take action and make decisions. So as I said, no matter how intellectual you think you are, no matter how savvy you think you are for technology or anything else, you have been victimized by this information at some point. Because this huge amount of information has become a public concern worldwide in order to face the challenges of infodemic. In time of pandemic, it is suggested that people have to identify the source of data as soon as they receive any information, and thus increase the probability of success in analyzing and classifying the evidence. Uh, a few steps could be followed in general. It is suggested by experts that a few steps could be followed in general from being deceived by the misinformation. So the step one could be apply the brakes. Brakes like this. People are too quick to share information. They cannot personally vouch for. We need an internal speed bump. Emotion is the main tool these informers use to manipulate us. It turns out we are not very skeptical when we are scared. And there is a lot of fear right now, especially if you have strong reaction. Use that as a reminder to step away. Stop looking at, then come back in a few minutes and ask yourself, do I really know enough to share this? Even better, focus on writing and claiming your own first-hand experience and ideas as opposed to sharing, commenting on others. It's like some people, they share in internet disinformation and market. Share if you care, information, content like this. The step second could be check the source. That I think is the most important. Check the source of information. Trying to evaluate fact can be difficult and time-consuming. Instead, take a few seconds to evaluate the reputation of the information source. Even people who grew up online can forget not all information is created equal. Just because it's shared by a friend or a source has a legitimate sounding name doesn't mean you can trust it. These matter because when you share or follow a source on social media, you are actually endorsing it. That might not be your intent, but that's how social media software functions. Every extra followers give a source more of a voice. When you follow or follow a fake site or fake page, you are endorsing them, and you are giving them more voice and help it rank higher in the algorithm that decide what we will get to see. Make a rule for yourself that you will not share until you have at least glanced at the source profile page. And according to experts, researchers, some rules of thumb for vetting sources, which could be sometimes the immediate source is a family member or a friend. Then you need to check their sources, like how long the account has been around, and it could be like the account is open just few days ago, and there are fewer than 200 followers, and it's created in past month. A common sign of disinformation effort. Also, the person who shares, does that person say who they are? Sometimes they use fake accounts. So if so, you could probably, if there is name, you probably Google them and glance at an account's most recent post as well as ones from a few weeks ago. Is it consistent? Is the post consistent? Ask yourself what put them in a position to know about this topic. Is the source even in the place that it claims to have information about? If it claims to be a news outlet, does it have a website, a way to contact it, a service called, there are service you can check there called NewsGuard, offers a web browser plug-in that rate more than 4,000 news websites based on their records of publishing according to, you can check there. And if you are part of a movement, take time to figure out who really is a member of your community. You can avoid the traps of interlopes by only trusting information from verified accounts of leaders as opposed to whoever is shouting loudest online. And the next step could be do not trust all the cute things. Memes, those images, slogans that spread like wildfire can be fun. Just know now they are no, there also could be open. A post doesn't have to be false to be dangerous. These disinformers are more interested in hijacking the mechanism of sharing by getting you to improve their standing. And another step could be become citizen investigator. Sometimes a quick source check comes up uh, inconclusive, but you are still really interested in the information they are sharing. Then it's time to perform what one researcher Caulfield calls lateral reading. Instead of digging deep into information at hand, look across the internet for other sources and questions to ask questions. Have any reported fact-checking organization look into the claim? Did anybody else report the same thing, perhaps from different angle? Where and when was the image or code created? Try a reverse image search. You can search the image like Google image, BuzzFeed, and something like this. And the next step is when you find misinformation, correct it carefully. A concerned citizen can and should help others, not fall for misinformation by leaving a trail of breadcrumbs or to the truth. Research shows people are less likely to share information when someone has commented with a fact check. But do so with caution. Resharing the original with a comment can sometimes help to amplify the original source. A better idea used by some professional fact checker is to take a screenshot of the image or video and then draw a red cross, X mark through it and share that. If you are commenting on someone else's post, just remember most people do not like being corrected. So I hope that the piece of information I gathered and shared with you will not cause any information disorder or information overload because time is limited. I cannot say any further, but you may email me for further dialogue. And thank you so much. Maraming salamat po.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohummad Kamrul Hassan. Your talk is very timely and relevant, especially that we are experiencing a pandemic. So we've learned that infodemic is as infectious as the pandemic that we are
Yes.
experiencing right now, which could infect easily someone's mind, right? So pandemic can be cured, but infodemic is quite harder to handle, right? So it's because individuals have different level of information literacy and how they handle such information that they see or read from different sources. Okay, and actually I only know